I wanted to take this and put it out on Facebook, and I kind of made mention of it last week, and a strong desire to be able to share this. And again, this goes back to the story that I just told about the little baby that has cancer and is going to die, and then they can't find cancer because of prayer. I went to Texas, to Houston, and for the National Safety Council meeting that we had, they had an opiate awareness setup, scene for people to go through and to kind of get an idea of. And on it, when you go into it, this is a wall. It's as big as our foyer is back there, a pretty good size. I'd say it's probably about 16 by about 10 as far as the size goes. Now, each one of those little white dots represents a person who has died by opiates. Last week we mentioned that 70,000 people died in opiate problems and opiate affectedness to other families and driving under the influence and everything. But this is just overdoses. Now, these are just people that took too much, whether on purpose or accidentally, and died. And there's some of this that has to do with Oxycontin and things along that line, as well as fentanyl. We all know how much of a killer that is. But each one of these little dots represents a person that has died because of opiates. 24,000 people die every year directly through opiate overdose. Now, if you were to look closer at that wall, you'd see these little faces. And these faces, there's a lot of similarities about them, but there's a machine they've got that carves out these little faces. And if you were to go to their website, the National Safety Council's website, and click on their opiate awareness, the silent killers, you would find these faces. And if you were to click on any of those faces, they've got a little biography that would come up, and they'll tell you a person's name, tell you the age, and a little bit about them, and that they died through an opiate overdose. And so they got all that. And this is the little machine that makes those faces, that carves them out. And if you will, whatever these little pills are made out of, probably not an opiate source, but some kind of whatever material that it is, it represents that person that died as a result of that little pill. 22,000 people are killed each year of prescription opiate overdose. And that's prescriptions that they're taking something they buy from a pharmacy. They get a prescription from the doctor. If the face of opiate epidemic look familiar, you're not alone. This everyday killer is pervasive, but we're tragically unaware of how acceptable and dangerous these drugs are. In 2015, the amount of opiates prescribed in the U.S., in the United States, let me see if I can get that down there. Yeah. In the United States was enough for every American to be medicated around the clock for 3 weeks. Okay. You think about the number of drugs that's out there, then for every American to be completely addicted or medicated around the clock for 3 whole weeks. And I don't know how many of a number of people take opiates. But think about this. Of the numbers of people that you run across every day, not all of them's on opiates. And so if there's this many of them being prescribed, you can just imagine how those people are that take these things, that they're really bombing themselves with them. And depending on your makeup, the way that you're chemically put together, you may be more susceptible or less susceptible to addiction of the opiates and the possibility of a very short period. They say as many as 3 pills for a person that is addictive nature and has the chemical makeup. As many as 3 pills, they could set that person into an addiction type kind of a mindset. And what happens to those people, it actually changes the way that the body responds to the opiate, and it will mimic pain. Your body will tell you you're having pain when you don't have pain, so that you will feed it again. It's those pain receptors or receptors in the brain that desire this. It's the pain is the process, and the opiate is the reward. So the brain functions that way, and that's why it is absolutely extremely hard for somebody that's addicted on these things to come off. That's why most of the time, whenever you hear about somebody going to a rehab place, that the number of failures are astronomical. It's very rare that somebody would go through that. In fact, the doctor at our workplace in one of the meetings I was in asked everybody, and there was about 40 people in the room, if I'm remembering correctly, and he asked the question, how many people did we know? And 1 in 4 people know somebody that's affected. How many people do we know that were able to come off and stay off? And one guy raised his hand. The doctor said, well, now, are you sure about that? He said, yeah, I'm sure about it. It was my son. And so he's pretty sure. But he said, that's extremely rare that anybody is able to come off of. We know it happens, right? We've got people that come to church every now and then that we hear about that have had that, and they've been able to get off of it. But that, because they're not taking it, doesn't mean that their body's saying, I want that. They're fighting that. Now, the longer they fight it, the more successful they'll be. Because soon or later, your brain and the way that it got twisted for the opiate will go ahead and settle back to the way it was before. But it's an ongoing, hard process. I know from alcohol, speaking to people that were alcoholics, personal experience in my family, that all it takes is 1 drink. There are people that have been off of alcohol for the entire year. Take that 1 drink and they're drunk until they can do something to get off of it. Alcohol, these medicines, prescriptions, marijuana, any of those things have the ability to grab you and to pull you down. Short-term opiate, if you're not the addictive type nature, chemical makeup, it's not going to make you an addict the first week's worth of opiates you take. But even somebody that's not, and it doesn't make them sick. Now, opiates make me a little bit nauseous. Now, when I've had tooth work done or surgery or something like that, it makes me a little bit upset to my stomach. One in the family had a tooth problem, had that tooth worked on, and what it did to them is it made them throw up. It didn't make them high, it made them really just sick. Not everybody's the same. It's a good thing if it makes you sick and you get a little pain relief. That way you won't take the next one and you start to feel better and you won't get to that place. Nearly 6 in 10 Americans have leftover opiates at home, and 20% have shared with another person. 20% have shared with another person. And so we all like to be friendly. And someone says, hey man, I'm really hurting. You got any medicine for me? Well, yeah, okay, yeah, here. And I give that. Not knowing that the person that's asking for it may not actually be in pain. They just may think they're in pain and they want to fix. Today alone, 5,800 people misusing opiate pain medicine for the first time. 5,800, that's the statistic. 5,800 people used an opiate for the first time every day. And so it's still being widely prescribed. And you know, you got to thank God for the doctors that are starting to draw back a little bit from that. The unions and things along that line. And some doctors will give you 2 days worth of some kind of an opiate thing. 2 days is the limit. They'll give you more. Because they know it's starting to be a problem. I think some of the drug manufacturers are starting to be sued because of that. And so it's a real problem. At least they're starting to work on it. If you'll go to the National Safety Council's website, they've got a short video that anybody can get on it and watch it. And there it is, stopeverydaykillers.org. And you can see the things that we've been mentioning, we talked about. Okay, I think that's it. Now, as bad a picture as that is, and people's lives that are gone, Michigan has been the last state that I remember that has approved of recreational marijuana. They just approved that recently. And so Michigan is the last one that I've heard of. And it's coming to Tennessee as soon as they get where they can do it for certain medical things. They'll use medical marijuana. And then that's just another step toward recreational use of it. And so the biggest hypocritical thing is our government that has taxed alcohol and the thought was, you can't beat them, join them. Now, how many people remember when they started to do the alcohol referendums for the small counties that were dry? They didn't have any place to sell liquor and alcohol. Well, every time that comes up for a vote, the voters of that county have to decide whether they're going to vote it in or continue to have it out. And so there's a lot of money behind it. That's why alcohol, which is an extreme drug today, is being sold like it is because it's being taxed and the government's getting money. Same thing with marijuana in these countries, states that have licensed recreational use of marijuana. They're getting money from it. Whenever they were getting ready to vote in the lottery in Tennessee, they said, we might as well vote in the lottery because our people are driving to Kentucky, North Carolina, Alabama, and Mississippi to buy their lottery tickets, and we're losing that revenue. And so that's why the lottery was put up and legalized in the state of Tennessee. Now, I said as bad as that is, it's not a death sentence. It's not like something that is going to take your life that has to be, because there is hope. And like an alcoholic, I've known alcoholics when they got saved, even those, one lady particular that I remember that was high and she was drunk when she got saved, wasn't in church. She got saved. But she dried out immediately and didn't want anything else to drink. I've known drug addicts that were the same way, that whenever they got saved, now I'm not talking about joining the church, not talking about being baptized, I'm talking about getting a relationship with Jesus Christ. When that happens, that person gets where that they're no longer drawn to the drug. Now, same thing with when a person wants to give up tobacco or anything along that line. God is able to help regardless what the need is. And if it has to do with sin, God is especially wanting to help. But we've got to want help, right? And in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4, about everybody knows these verses, and we'll just go over them real quickly. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, and I said that there is help, and His name is Jesus Christ. Some of these rehab places have a certain amount of success, but when a person gets saved just right, it's 100%. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 4, for the weapons of our warfare, and these opiates and alcohol and things like that, is a spiritual warfare against the flesh that we need to pray, to fight. Are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. That is especially needed to us to understand that God can pull down the stronghold of Satan in addiction, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. So everything that's not a proper thought, not a proper mindset, not a proper way, in Jesus Christ He can bring it into obedience. He can tame or correct that need. And having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. Do you look on things after the outward appearance? This is what it's out. This is an outward appearance and our outward way of thinking. When we think we have to have that drug. No, what we have to have is Jesus Christ. And He said to the outcast appearance, if any man trusts to himself that he is Christ, let him of himself think this again, that as he is Christ, so even so are we Christ. And so verse 7, the last part of it, is telling us to be sure that we belong to Him. All right, let's go to Ephesians, and I'll close with Ephesians chapter 6. And everybody knows what that is. Ephesians chapter 6, and here it is. Now, if we say we can't do it, then we make God a liar. We say that God didn't tell us the truth when He told us that He'd help us and we could overcome. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. That means don't depend on your strength, depend on His. And in the power of His might. And that's a daily presentation for your spirit. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles. Now, the wiles are the schemes or the trickery or the evil plans of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, if you don't believe that these alcohol and these pills and everything in addiction, opiates and stuff, are of the devil, tune in to some of these channels, Nat Geo, National Geography, and get some of those arrested abroad shows, or some of those prison shows, and you'll find out that those people were pretty good people until they got mixed up in drugs, and it destroyed their lives. It ruined them. Let's see. Against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God. It's available. You just have to take it, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day when Satan comes against you. And having done all to stand, stand. Therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, put it on, get ready to walk in it. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Anything he throws at you with God's help, you're able to defeat. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. That's going to make the difference in your daily walk with God. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. And so it's not hopeless. It may be hard, even to the point of extreme. But friends, I will tell you, it's doable with Jesus' help. It's doable with His help. Now, there might be somebody that has seen how devastating these things are and how much it costs them, and without God's help directly, be able to fight the battle until they get their minds settled where they're no longer going to be controlled by it. But I will tell you that many of those people that don't have God's help are not going to be successful. Because if you've never been addicted to anything, and I would dare say most of us have not been addicted to anything like that. But if you talk to somebody that is addicted to those things, it's not, well, they wake up and they think, I think I'll not do drugs today. Now, as soon as they open their eyes, if they're addicted, they're wondering when they're going to get their next fix, when they're going to get their next hit. And all day long until they get that, that's all that their mind is consumed with. Again, it's hard and it's extreme, but God is able to help. And that's why I think it's so important that we tell our young people, we tell our little kids and stuff like that. And I've told it to mine when they were growing up. I said, don't ever take anything from anybody. Me and Deb knew a girl that went to another church. And she went on a date with a boy from school. And he, when they were out to eat, he put LSD in her Pepsi, or her drink. And she had flashbacks from the LSD for years. Now, I don't know where she's at or what's going on with her now. But you don't take anything from anybody. And she thought she would be safe with dating somebody she knew from school. And it didn't work out that way. And so don't ever experiment. Don't ever think you can experiment and be successful. That's just the devil's way of saying, hey, try it. Everyone else is doing it. It's too destructive to play with. It's too destructive to play with. Okay. Anyone have any thoughts you want to make mention of anything? That's why I wanted to go through this. I want to get it on Facebook. I want to get it on our YouTube channel. Awful good information. Well, one of the ladies that went with us, her son had two friends that died from opiate overdoses. And you can go there. They got a thing where you can put a person's name and they'll make a pill for that boy and put it up there, and they did. And she had tears in her eyes. She did it. She knew the boy pretty good. They said they're home all the time. And I just cannot emphasize enough how destructive that it is. You will cheat, lie, steal, sell your body, anything you can do to get that next fix. That's how bad that stuff is. You'll steal from your own family. You'll steal from people that's in the nursing home. You'll steal from people that's in the hospital. You'll steal from anybody just for that next fix. So, yeah, as strong as I can say, don't allow yourself to take it and get caught up in it. And if you use an opiate at one time and you feel, well, that felt pretty good, don't take no more. Take the pain. Take Tylenol and acetaminophen, but don't take it. If you think that it was, well, that got me, I got feeling good, no, don't take it. Now, I don't have any pain in my body that's got me to that place. So it's easy for me to say, right? But with my advice, don't take it, don't get yourself caught up in it. All righty, well, Sunday is going to be our Easter or Christmas service, so remember that in prayer. Anyone else, an announcement? Anything? Anybody?